the safety as well.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's worth mentioning. We can't pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah.
It's as if everyone in the world has herpes, basically. Right?
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. We have a caller today, Andy.
We do. Exciting.
It is exciting. Our caller today, her issue is very relevant. It's a very 2020 issue. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it'll apply to a lot of people in relationships. So our caller today is Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do you mind giving us your age and region / city location and your story?
Yeah. So I'm 25 and I'm from Chicago. I think I wrote it to you guys. I said Dear Charlene and Andy, and I now know that you hate that. So I apologize.
To be fair, you did write that. You wrote in a while ago with this issue. Yeah. And also, I feel like Andy was fine with Charlene and Andy for the first 2 months, and all of a sudden he was very offended by it.
It's because I had met you, Charlene, at the All the Pretty Pandas party, and I think I might have said hi to Andy, so it felt weird to just clump you guys into one person.
I understand. Since you had actual in-person interaction, we give you a pass on that.
And we remember you. You were with your sister, and you were just delightful, lovely.
I remember her.
I remember. I was single at the time, and very single for a really long time. And I remember seeing you guys interacting at the party and just being like, "That's the kind of relationship I would want."
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
Yeah. Charlene, I know you're kind of an introverted person, as you said. And so just seeing you sort of retreat to the corner of the room and then every once in a while have eye contact with Andy, and it seems like he would just know exactly how you were feeling. And it just seems so comforting to know that you could have someone be that for you.
That is the sweetest observation. I'm actually tearing up about. That was super sweet.
You just won her. That's 1,000 points. You hit several. We need to get into it, but you hit several issues that she finds.
There's
very
a lot
important.
of seeing in that observation, but also seeing. And I remember you did write me an email after that party where
I did. I was so surprised that because I don't really send things to who people that I think are, because you're kind of a celebrity to me.
So not true, but that's very sweet.
I never have sent something to someone like that I don't know. And I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to send this even if it's into a void. And if she sees it, then okay.
I definitely saw it, and it definitely spoke to me. And what you noticed is something that I honestly spent the better part of my 20s looking for.
Yeah.
That looking across a room of 200 plus people, and it's like, it's like as though you have walkie-talkies or whatever.
Yeah, she really hit on it.
Yeah. All right. So now you're dating someone.
Yeah, I'm dating someone. And I started listening to your podcast when it came out when I had coronavirus. So I had just flown back from England, from London, and it was a really good distraction from what was not so good of a time in my life. So so I had it for about a month. So I had a fever for a month. I was in my room in isolation for a month. And
oh my God,
I'm 25, and you hear about young people getting it, and they don't get it that badly. So I didn't think that I would be affected. And I was already very cautious to begin with. I had to take the flight home from studying abroad, so I didn't have a choice. And I wore 3 layers of masks. I wore gloves. I didn't take off. I didn't drink water. I didn't eat, and I still somehow got it, on the journey home.
Oh my God!
Yeah. And
wait, you got it on the way home on the journey?
On the plane home, I think. I think there was a woman coughing on the plane.
Oh, that's Andy. That's your worst nightmare. Because you're trapped. You're trapped. You can't cross the street and avoid those coughs.
Yeah. I wouldn't even. I flew to LA. I wouldn't even go in the bathroom.
Oh
I brought a Gatorade bottle.
Isn't it?
Okay, so you come back. You have to isolate for a month.
Yes.
That's hardcore.
So
okay.
I came back to stay with my parents, And so I was really conscious about getting them sick. So I was just trying to be really careful. And I had tested negative a week before I actually came out of my room. But so it was a really long time to be alone. And I just remember feeling so much like, I'm also an introvert, and I really value my independence, and like my time that I would choose for myself would just to be alone in my room. And now I'm like, I want to be with people. I want to be able to, touch things.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been in that exact situation with the isolating, but I do know what you mean. Something about the pandemic has sort of made you realize just where on the introversion scale you fall.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
So I met my current boyfriend about a year and a half ago when we first started a master's program in London together. So I met him just totally spontaneously, like in the real world. I had been on dating apps before when I was living in other cities. But this was like one of the first real times that I had met someone totally organically, which maybe says something about, the times that I'm living in.
It's so rare.
Well, and she's 20, you're 25. Like you're in that age where it's more likely that you'd have met people online, I guess.
It's extremely rare, I feel like, for someone her age to find.
And take advantage of, like you said you met in school.
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm glad that you took advantage of that, because it's it's pretty much school and work.
Yeah.
And then work, there's all these,
there's issues.
Awkward. Yeah.
Yes.
Work is super awkward, I feel like, because then you can't get away from them.
Yeah, and inadvisable in most cases.
Yeah. Usually, yeah.
But yeah, so he's about a year younger than me. He's 25. He just turned 25 too. So we're close to the same age, but he's younger than me. So I was like really cautious, because I really take your guys' advice to heart.
I said before that it doesn't matter as much if you're in your 20s.
Although to take the other side of that, when I was in my early 20s, like 1 year difference was like humongous. Yeah, it's like I was dating a girl 1 year older than me. I was like, wow, she's really
this is an older woman.
Yeah, she's 1 year is no big deal.
Shandy approved.
Yeah. I'll let it pass.
So I've been in serious relationships before, but this is just genuinely the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. And, we spent close to 4 months together in lockdown in England, in London, with his parents. And so that was because I had nowhere else to go after they kicked us out. And being in a room, having to be in a room 24/7 with someone, you quickly come to realize how compatible you are and how much you can tolerate. And I woke up every day really excited to see him, and I went to bed every day, every night, just really feeling really at peace and really content. And I never in my life thought I could meet someone where it feels like, well, first I feel so understood, and I feel he's not like, we don't have the exact same interests, but I feel like he really understands me. He really supports me. And being in the same room with him for that long, it honestly feels like being with an extension of myself. Like I don't get annoyed.
Yeah. The number one sign of a good relationship, never getting annoyed.
Yeah, with things that don't matter.
Almost anything.
Yeah.
Annoyance is different than anger or frustration. Mm-hmm. Annoyance is very specific, and it's very unsexy. It's not a good thing for romance.
It's like a nefarious quiet thing that sort of, it could
seeps in.
Yeah. Yes. So the issue that I wrote in with a couple of months ago was we have a very, it's like, well, first, just to give some context, I've never been with someone for so long and never had like, I don't know, like a real fight with them, I would say. Like, I don't know, like, it's just the kinds of disagreements we have, they're always really respectful. And I don't know if that's bad or if that's good. But like that.
No, how is that bad?
It's only bad if one of you harbors resentment that isn't being aired out.
Yeah, if you're like, I think, repressing anything just for the sake of harmony.
Just to end the conflict, to avoid conflict.
Think that doesn't happen, or do you think it does?
So, no, I think it's generally, I think that there was an element of that actually. But first it was like, we don't have, maybe it's just the fact that, maturing from other previous experiences, but I don't have blowout fights with him like I have had in the past, which, sucks. But
I think there's real truth to what you're saying. It's a lot of how your fighting style, and I think we touched on this with Astrid and Kevin. Mm-hmm. It's like it evolves. Like the way I fight with Andy is not how I fought with my boyfriend 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then my boyfriend 10 years before that. Oh my God, that makes me sound really old. But it's true. You just don't always fight the same way, and you learn from experience.
You moved on from the frying pans. And the
moved on from the frying pan part.
It kind of makes like arguing frustrating, because it's like neither of us wants to win or be right. We want to we want to put it to bed so that we don't, threaten the relationship. So, so I think that sort of led to me on this issue bottling up some things, which that is probably not good. But the issue is that we initially disagreed about the appropriate level of caution to take in the pandemic. Sorry, it took like 20 minutes to get to that.
No. I liked how you fully fleshed out the scene.
Yes, the journey is more important than the destination.
Yes, yeah. Although she is calling in with the destination.
That's true. And we're done. Thank you for your time.
So it wasn't even that he disagrees with me on a fundamental level. He's also, he's a fairly cautious person. He's a very considerate person. It was just that when he would be in, he's working right now. So he would often have to go into the office. He might have to go on business trips. And when he was with other people, there would be pressure in a situation where that would make him like not want to adhere to some of the guidelines that maybe the government set out, or that might be considerate to follow. But now thinking about the problem, it's so easy for me to judge and to also not feel like a hypocrite when I don't have any friends to meet up with right now. I'm just sitting in my room and like I don't have anywhere to go. But he actually has responsibilities. Like it feels like a conversation where we're always trying to understand each other's side. So then it's like, are we even arguing with each other anymore? But yeah, there were, I think, 2 or 3 instances where some of the things that he did really upset me. And because of my reactions, I was very sensitive to, so he lives with an elderly person, a grandparent. And so to me, that would warrant an even higher level of precaution. Mm-hmm. But he would sometimes, go eat in restaurants, indoors, and I think the other time was when he was exposed to a coworker who tested positive, but just didn't self-isolate. And so I think both times I was like, in the moment, I get really upset. And if I react in the moment, I feel like that's not healthy. But if I just wait like 20 minutes, I feel like I can think through things more calmly. But I think what made it worse was that because I had reacted so sensitively to the first incident, he was afraid to then tell me about the second one. I think the second one I found out about because it just slipped out. And then that made me feel like it was like a vicious cycle where if I was more upset, he would be less willing to tell me, which would make me more upset and feel like he was hiding something. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, yeah.
Is he British?
Yes, he's British.
I wonder if it's a bit of a cultural thing. I know in the UK, they're a bit kind of all over the place. They're not really adhering to a lot of...
Well, and there's also, I think, probably some conflict aversion there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, which might be as much a personality thing as a cultural thing. Although I will say, it's funny you say that, because the one Brit that I ever dated, I dated for around 2 years. And I hope I'm not repeating myself. I remember catching him in like a subtle lie that was way shadier just by having been lied about than if he had just told me. It was not that sketch. Yeah. And I remember when I confronted him about it, he was just like, I just want an easy life. And I do think it's interesting that he was also British. Yeah. But yeah, it's a little frustrating because neither of you want to fight about this and you want to reach an agreement, and a place that's mutually respectful of each other's feelings on it, you need to reach that by airing them in the first place. And so by not even giving you the full picture, all the information, I just feel like it's you're lying by omission. He knows that she'll be upset about it.
How intense a confrontation have you had with him over this issue?
It wasn't intense in the sense that it was heated. It was intense in the sense that when you don't really have like real disagreements about anything else, having this very, very, strong impasse feels like a big deal. And it made me sort of, I was at a lot of these points, I was just sitting in my room by myself with nothing to do but ruminate on things. And so I just started to think, does this have any implications for how we might be in situations in the future together if we have a life together? I know the coronavirus pandemic is a very unique thing that we're in right now, but I almost think that we wouldn't have had this problem if there hadn't been a pandemic. But it makes me question,
Well, it can flesh out certain characteristics. Like you're probably worried that maybe he lacks compassion or he's a little selfish, stuff like that, which has nothing to do with, just following rules or regulations. It's not about that. It's about you questioning his character and other aspects of life, I assume.
Yeah.
I do have thoughts on this, but I don't want to cut you off if you want to did you have any more conflict about it? How have things developed since you wrote the email?
So I approached a lot of my friends about this, and they were just sort of, because everyone has different standards for how they behave in a pandemic. But I think talking to my friends who, it's been 8 months, and I get that it's really hard to live with such restrictions on your life for such a long time. And so I think it was just coming up so often and in the same exact way almost that we finally just sat down and had a conversation. And I told him, this is how it makes me feel when, if you're not super forthcoming, and I will try to modulate my reaction to what you're saying so that you feel comfortable to share that with me. And I really try to make him understand that honesty was really important to me. And
this sounds like a game of chess.
It's a really argument.
I just wanted him to understand. And also I think it's not that I think he's selfish. It's just that when you're in a situation with a lot of peer pressure or, something like that, it may be difficult to prioritize.
But the issue with his elderly grandmother, did you confront him and say what was your thought process about that?
Yeah, I was always just questioning, I'm not living with him, so do I even have control over his, is it even my place to say anything? Or
I think you have a place to say something. Absolutely. This is a reflection of his character. Maybe it's a blind spot. He's just like, oh my God, you're right. That probably is dumb. Or maybe he's just like, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of potential issue there. I hope you did confront him about that and ask him why he was doing that. Yeah.
I think it was just that the way he explained it was he feels social anxiety about not, behaving differently than his coworkers or his friends. If they wanted to go eat inside a restaurant, he didn't feel comfortable saying, "Oh, I can't go," or "We should."
That's fine.
I totally
get that. But what I'm specifically referring to his grandmother. What was his excuse for that?
I think his reasoning was that his parents are also not super careful. So,
two wrongs.
But yeah, so it hasn't come up in the last month because England is in lockdown again. So, but I just don't want I don't want that to be the reason that it doesn't come up. Because what if it, because he's in lockdown, so he's not really in situations where he needs to make a decision like that.
Okay. It's sort of at the same state. It's just, it hasn't really progressed, but it doesn't really sound like you ever came to a conclusion, like you guys met in the middle on this, or did you?
Yeah, it was like a sort of, I'll be more understanding of you, you be more understanding of me, and we'll be open with each other. But it's still a disagreement.
That's good. I mean, I think you can definitely be more understanding about the peer pressure. I get that, especially at his age, because he's so much younger than you. He's a child. But no, but seriously, like he's in his early 20s and, you know, that's almost mid entering.
Mid-20s.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, mid 20s. Just made it.
It's literally the middlest of mid.
I thought he was 24.
He's 25.
Oh, 25. You're right. My bad.
You just turned 25.
That's definitely mid. But I get the peer pressure thing for sure. He is obviously in a much lower risk category than other people. You know, you can give him a pass on that. I just think you should focus on the more, you know, potential character. I wouldn't say flaw, that's pushing it, but the things that could be a sort of a indicator of future behavior in other situations, which is the thing with the grandmother. I think you should try to maybe just let the other stuff go and be like, it would make me feel a lot better if you were more careful around your family. It would just make me feel better about how you're behaving. That's what I would say.
I have a different answer.
Okay.
So, Rebecca, the reason your email really stood out to me, aside from me recognizing your name and remembering you from the blog party, is that on, I think, a less extreme level, we sort of have a similar-ish. Like, it's been an ongoing issue. Issue's too strong. But in terms of the pandemic for us, we get along really well, like, you know, all things considered. Like you said, you wake up every morning, you want to see your boyfriend, it's not splitting you apart the way it is with so many couples.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think it's been great for us. But Andy, to begin with, is a germaphobe, and I'm not.
I've been preparing for this my whole life.
He really has been. Like, we're not kidding. Like, even before pandemic times, like, we wouldn't leave the house without sanitizer.
I remember I saw this movie. It was with the woman who does the Goop, whatever her name is.
Gwyneth Paltrow. I love that you don't know her name.
It was like a Steven Soderbergh movie. It was. I think it might have been called Pandemic or Out. I don't remember.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. She's the first. She's like patient zero. Right? Yeah.
It was like a pig in China, like
Matt Damon?
a bat.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon's in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a big movie, but it was about a pandemic that's like probably like a lot worse than this one, but not that dissimilar. It was eerily similar to this. But I remember watching that movie and I was in the theater. I was like, I got this. and you know, in relation to that, I am extremely on top of things, probably more so than I need to be. And Charlene, as the wonderful wife that she is, I know is going out of her comfort zone to some degree to appease my high level of anxiety.
Yeah, to compare ourselves to you, I am the boyfriend and Andy is you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've gotten multiple like talking tos, scolded here and there for not sanitizing something the right way or waiting long enough after I sanitized before then washing off the bleach that we used to like the order of the shoe removal and then the hand washing.
What's funny is I sometimes watch you doing things that are above and beyond what I would do. And I'm like, wow, I created a monster. Like, you don't need to do that. It's okay.
But to relate to your boyfriend, I have been in some social situations where it kind of reminds me, honestly, of not eating meat. Like when you go to a group dinner, are you going to be the one that's like, actually, can we not get pepperoni on the pizza because I don't eat pepper? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You don't want to be that person that changes the entire social decision-making because of yourself.
Yeah, the difference is that one pepperoni doesn't kill you.
No. Of course, I get that. But all I'm saying is that if he already has some social anxiety, like all I'm saying is I can relate to that. But for me, what really changed the way I saw this, and to be clear, to begin with, I don't think I'm as bad as like most Americans on this regard. You know, I think that a lot of people are way too lax.
Oh no, you're great.
But I'm as good as I am, mostly because of you. But it was when Andy like made it clear to me that it wasn't about who I could potentially harm without realizing it, or the number of cases in New York City, or, you know, all these facts. So to even relate it to the grandmother, I know that sounds cold, but it's, you know, then his response is like, oh, well, my parents as well. I think really what worked for me to change, like to flick that switch for me, was to make it super personal. Like it was no longer about really the pandemic and more about your feelings on it on a really personal level. I do 90% of the extra sanitizing and washing and everything that I do because Andy made it clear how much it means to him. It's not about the number of cases or all the people he can infect, the people whose names he doesn't know. You know, I'm sure he loves his grandparent, but then he's like, oh, well, she went and did this, she went and did that. It's like it has to be about you and your relationship. Make it really personal. That's my take on it. That's what stood out to me when I read the email from you.
That's really interesting. So what would you suggest that, is it just, should I communicate that with him or change the way that I frame this, or what's like the action that you would recommend?
It sounds really silly and in a way kind of juvenile, but instead of focusing on how many people have died and how many cases there are and how, you know, these new statistics and reports, it's like, it means a lot to me. Mm-hmm. When you do this extra thing, when you stand up, like when you check with your friends before you go to dinner that, you know, that the place has outdoor seating, which by the way, I've taken to doing with my girlfriends. Like if I'm going to meet a friend for dinner, we make sure they have outdoor dining. We make sure they have heat lamps and, you know, like all the things. I know it sounds, it sounds trite. Instead of making it about like how many hundreds of thousands of people are dying, it's like, I'm your girlfriend and this is how I feel about it. You should do it for me.
Right.
That, to me, that's my take.
I mean, I agree with that. We can have both these takes at the same time. They're not opposing.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that she's mentioned the grandparent before. She's, you know, everyone knows all the reasons why you should be careful.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of a weird answer.
No, I think the discussion of your concern for his behavior with his grandmother is in the Venn diagram of like, do it for me.
Yes.
Like it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me like, I love you so much and I don't want to feel these feelings. I just want us to be on the same team. So just if you could, you know, put
it's
in
making you number
a little
one.
more effort, it would make me very happy.
When we talk about queen bee, the relationship's the queen bee. Is this really the battle he needs to pick? Something that he knows is going to upset you and then something he has to then keep from you to avoid upsetting you? Mm-hmm. If the relationship is number one, queen bee, going to be prioritized. Mm-hmm. It's the same way, you know, when some people fight, they're like, we can fight in all these ways, but we can never curse at each other.
Right.
This is a similar thing. It's like, this means this much to me. Do what you need to do to prioritize that.
Right. It's a low hanging fruit ask. It's like you're basically like, you know, you're asking him to do things that are going to potentially save people's lives. It's not like you're asking him to stop watching sports or, you know, stop hanging out with a certain friend he really enjoys the company of. This is like I think you can do this. I think you can do this without it becoming any sort of fight or conflict or stewing issue.
Do you feel like that would ever build resentment? Like, Charlene, do you ever feel resentful that you have to do that?
No, because most of the times, unless it's driven by jealousy or insecurity, most of the times these things make you a better person.
Yeah.
You know, unless it's like, oh, you can't talk to your exes and like, you have a curfew and you can't go out with certain people without showing me a photo of who you're with. By the way, I've heard of friends actually, boyfriends doing that to friends.
Amazing.
But in this case, it can't build resentment because he's doing the right thing and putting your relationship as number one. So to me, yes, it's like sometimes I'm a little like, you know, we're halfway down the street and we realize we don't have a full enough bottle of sanitizer, and then we have to come back home or like find a
by the way, let's be.
This actually happens.
I don't want her to make me sound like a complete weirdo.
You are.
The reason I get obsessive about the full sanitizer, which by the way is a tiny little bottle, is because we take city bikes around the city. And even in non-pandemic times, I think a city bike deserves a decent sanitizing.
It's dripping by the time we get on it.
It's moist. It's moist. I basically have like a sanitizer, like a seat-shaped wet spot on my butt when I get off the bike.
But yeah, so Rebecca, to answer your question, I think the resentment builds when it's something unnatural, something that you feel deep down is wrong or isn't for the greater good. Mm-hmm. Even him doing this for you is also him being considerate.
Right.
To being a considerate citizen.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a big ask.
No.
He's not sacrificing a lot for this. So I think you can feel comfortable asking him, but go with a very open heart and just be like, this is for me. It would make me so much happier. And like, you know, give him a love sandwich. Be like, preface it with like, I love you so much. And I was just thinking about this. And then after it, like, I love you again. You got the love squeezing in the little thing in the middle.
Yeah. Andy's always good with the suggestions on how to broach.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what you should say. And Andy's like, this is how you should say it.
It's a lot of, love is a lot of politics as much as you don't want to admit it. You gotta be a diplomat.
Yeah. In fact, I can tell when I'm about to get like a lecture. Yeah. He'll be like, I have something I want to ask you. Like, really sweet. This is a deceptively simple answer, I think. But I think it's going to be transformative, honestly.
But I think most importantly is you shouldn't let it go, because any of these things, as small as they may seem in the moment, will fester. Okay. You know, they'll fester and they'll become something bigger, possibly. You gotta get them out of the way.
That's where the resentment can grow. I'm more concerned about your resentment growing than his.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But she's like worried that, she asked this of him.
Don't worry. This is not a big ask. Again, not a big ask.
And if it is, you know what we're going to say.
Oh, he told me before I came on this, I called him and he was like, whatever they say, promise we won't split up.
Oh my God. That's
because almost every person who comes on this, it's like, break up with him. It's so true. You don't need to break up with him. He has nothing to worry about. He's great. You're good.
Him not being as careful as he should be just because it's not as convenient is not deal breaker territory.
No.
Especially all the other wonderful aspects of your relationship you listed.
Okay.
No, it just puts another piece of inventory into the resentment box.
For you.
And you want that box to be empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Because remember, you wrote into a podcast.
That's right. You're here.
Yeah. That's
not a good sign.
The seed of resentment right there. Do you think you're going to take our advice?
Yeah, I think it's just crazy because I'm the kind of person that if I have a problem, I'll go around to everyone I know to ask for advice. But you've said something that no one has said before.
Me?
I've not thought about this that way. I didn't think that I could ask him to do it for me. I was always saying, I was always listing these things, which he already knows about the pandemic and what kind of impact it has on people and the illness. And I think it compounded the issue because I had gotten it myself. So I was even more.
Definitely.
There you go.
It was personal for her. Yeah.
Really personal.
Yeah.
But I
didn't think
that I could make it about me because I never, I just didn't think, because Charlene, your intuition, which was that it feels like a selfish thing to be like, do it for me when.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, it's you sometimes hear, I don't know where you hear this, but you hear it. Someone said, I'd kill for you. That's like in a relationship where it's like there's the woman or the man is everything. I would kill for you. And you always, I'm sure.
Would you kill for me?
Under the right circumstances. They'd have to be it'd have to be someone I didn't like on top of everything. But yeah, I would think about it. So anyway, my point is you want to the goal of every relationship is to get to the point where you can literally say to each other, I would kill for you.
What?
Absolutely.
It's so extreme.
Because you do the most extreme thing that you don't want to do because the other person wants you to do it.
I feel like you always go one step too far.
I'm just saying, it's like the XY axis. You understand, graduate. There's like here and then there's there. That's the extreme of a perfect union.
I will say this. If we are considering that XY axis, the asking to really prioritize her feelings in terms of his carefulness with a pandemic is very low on that scale.
That's what I'm saying. That is at the base. It's at the what do you call what's the thing right in the bottom left corner of the X?
The origin.
Okay, I knew she knew that.
Of course she knows.
And what's the If it's a square without an infinity, like what's the top right corner?
I don't think there's a special word for that, but that would be a bird text.
Don't mock me. But, of course, there's nothing. Of course, there's no name for that.
It's a trick question, and she passed.
But yeah, Charlene's 100% right.
Rebecca, I hope that helps. It sounds like you're going to take my advice.
Yeah.
Our advice?
It was predominantly.
I'm piggybacking.
Well, your advice is often, I feel like, the winning advice. So I'm going to gladly claim this one.
You won this one. I give it to you.
I brought her on knowing that I had my, my golden ticket.
Hidden away.
Rebecca, thank you so much for your great and very relevant call.
Yes, you were a delightful guest.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And my boyfriend will be so happy to hear that we're not breaking up.
You're not
And I feel like if he listens to this episode, you won't even have to have this conversation.
Yeah, no, I think this is something that I'll just play for him. Like, let you guys do the work for me.
Exactly. Yeah, you just sit there with your arms crossed like, nah.
That's such a hack.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck with that and keep us posted.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Well, she was sweet. Oh my God.
She was really delightful.
I feel like she's a perfect example of someone who is so thoughtful to the point where it almost hurts her.
Mm-hmm. Too many thoughts
and just so considerate. It's like she's trying to find ways to broach it so that he doesn't react negatively to her broach, She's doing full like female inception relationship thoughts. Female? Don't you think? Oh, you're right. That is a kind of a female thing. It's a female thing,
yeah. Which is good. They're thinking about the right things in the relationship. Yeah. Guys are often just like trudging through. They're just worried like, she's going to cheat on me. Like that's like as deep as they go.
Basic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. Their relationship sounds great. It is such a 2020 concern.
Yeah. I mean, and only 2020 or 1918. That's pretty much it. And hopefully that's it.
It is true. But yeah, the second I read her email, I was like, oh, this one rings true to me. Because there were growing pains with us at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, really, does that really need to be sprayed?
But I have to say, I really appreciate it's almost like a love language. Like I could tell when you're doing it. Sometimes you're doing it, you're like, look how many times I'm spraying, but not in like a I told you so way. Like you're doing it like you're like, I know this makes.
I'm like,
it's like dripping.
I'm like, hold up the dripping like thing up for you to see.
That's why we need a full bottle.
But you're right. That is true. There is something love languagey about it.
Every time you do it, it's literally like, think of how easy that is. Like, first of all, let's be honest. In the end, it's probably a net positive. I'm going overboard, but it's probably a net positive. But like every time you do any of that, I'm looking at you and I'm like, that's so sweet. I know she's doing that partially for me. And that's makes me love you more.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
But you do similar things for me and my phobia, which we will not discuss.
We won't discuss. But yeah.
For example, you'll go out of your way to like research things to make sure that it doesn't have my phobia.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's easy. It's easy, and it's almost like
you care about me and my being happy or unhappy, and that's why I really think this is more personal than she thinks it is, or thought it was. It sounds horrible, but humans are innately selfish and we care about what's in front of us and the people we care about. Yeah. Myopic. That just turned me on a bit. That's
really
a good word. Yes.
Wow.
Very good.
All right, we're going to close this up.
But yeah, it really sometimes works in your favor in your relationship to play into that.
Yeah.
Make it personal. Even if the topic is like the least personal thing ever.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap there.
I think we can.
Yeah. What a great caller. Loved that question.
Me too.
Yeah. And we have one more caller today. Our other caller is Stefanie. Stefanie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure.
Do you mind giving us your age and your city and or region and your story?
Yeah, of course. So I'm 26 and I'm in New York City.
Yay.
So I can launch right into my story if you want.
Go for it.
Okay, so basically what happened is I met this guy on Bumble. A little bit of backstory. I've been on Bumble for a long time. I went to college in the city, so I've been on Bumble since pretty much I graduated, and I've had a great time. Haven't really dated anyone from Bumble, haven't really wanted to, but I've been seeing many a person on the apps. So yes,
That's sad.
yes. So I met this guy on Bumble back in March. I wasn't looking for anything. I was truthfully just bored because the pandemic had just hit. So, I'd swipe through the work days and I swiped this guy, we matched, whatever. I wasn't really that into it. We actually wound up having a really good first conversation, and that drew me in more than like his pictures or anything like that. And after the first conversation, he was like, look, if you want to text, just give me your number, whatever. So we did the whole texting back and forth thing. And then it started escalating to like phone calls and video chats. And this was over the course of like a couple months because we couldn't see anyone because the pandemic was locked everything down. Till about June, we were just communicating via phone calls, video messages, all of those things. And they were great conversations. We'd have like hours long convos. So I felt like we were really clicking on like a more personal level, which was rare for me in all of the things that I've had on Bumble. So I was like, this is kind of interesting. I kind of like this guy. We decided to meet up in June, about mid-June. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, right by the park. So we were like, we can just go on a walk. It would be, sort of safe enough. So we met up. He actually had what I think you guys have referred to as nervous energy, which was making me really nervous. So it was like, it was kind of uncomfortable. But it was an interesting like first date in the fact that like it's weird to see someone face to face after having so much communication just over a phone.
There's a lot of buildup.
Yeah.
So much buildup. Yeah. And the interesting part was that none of it was sexual. Like none of it. Which is, I thought was unusual from a dating app.
That is unusual, especially for that long a period of texting.
What do you mean? None of the communication leading up to this point was sexual?
Right. Yeah.
Flirty?
I'd say like gently flirty. Mostly on my end.
How old is he?
Sorry, I just want to define sexual. Is sexual like literally him sending you dick pics, or sexual just like, ooh, I don't know. Like, ooh, what's going on? What do you like to do for fun?
Is that
I don't know. I didn't think of option B, and I just completely flubbed it. But you get what I'm saying. There's like really hardcore sexuality, and then there's like sort of very nuanced. Are you talking like there wasn't even a nuance, like nothing?
No, there wasn't even a nuance.
How old is he?
Okay.
He's 29.
Does he have a lot of relationship experience?
I would say more than I do, yeah. I think I have a lot more of like sleeping around experience. He has a lot more of relationship experience.
Okay.
Very honest.
I'm being honest about it.
I like that.
Endearingly honest. I enjoyed that.
Now that I think about it, I guess that's not that strange to have. How long were you texting before you met?
Maybe like 2 months. I mean, it's better than the opposite, which they come on way too strong.
Right.
I think there's something charming about this.
I think there is something charming about that, and it's not totally weird. That seems okay to me. If the conversation's good and you right.
Yeah, and I agree with her. Like if it's one or the other, I would way rather it just be clean.
Yeah,
if this does work out, you have a lot of time to be flirty and sexual with each other.
Yeah, it's a slow build. So, okay. Sorry to interrupt. Continue. So there was no sexuality in the text, and then you met, and there was nervous energy, and continue.
Right. So we go on our little date in the park. He winds up coming back to my apartment. We like have dinner. He winds up staying over, and we did have a good night, and there was some like romantic chemistry.
So this was a non-nuanced sexual night. I'm assuming this was more than nuanced.
Nice try, Stefanie. We need more details.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because like to this day, there has not been like hand holding. Like PDA is not a thing that I think I do well, and he obviously does not do it well. So there's really not any sort of PDA, and there wasn't that day when we were on our little date. But then like later at night, we're like both sitting in bed. We like start making out. Like yeah, we hooked up on the first night. But like it was kind of like a weird, like jarring, like it went from nothing to all of a sudden we were hooking up.
Which is not, well, because you said you don't do any PDA or any hand holding, but this was different for you as well, correct? This sort of lack of ramping up. to the hook.
Yes, this lack of like anything, and then all of a sudden, like you're hooking up. It was very strange, and I chalked it up to like he's clearly anxious and like nervous about something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did he seem awkward? Like, was he like smooth guy, or was he really kind of awkward?
No, he was a little awkward.
Yeah, sounds like an awkward guy.
I was definitely more comfortable in that situation.
Oh, and the hookup, I presume, was good because if this was June, it is now nearing the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we're talking about him.
Right. Well, the first hookup, I mean, it's never that good. It was like fine.
True. Yeah. Honest. True.
I respect that honesty. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was honestly, he left the next morning because he stayed the night. He left the next morning and I was like, look, like to myself and to my friends, I was like, I have other people that I can reach out to whenever I'd like. And I don't know like whether I'd prefer this man over any of them. So I just kind of was still playing the field, and we kept talking. We kept video calling and cell phone calling, whatever. And I wound up seeing him again. I was actually in the middle of a move, so it took us a couple of weeks to sync up again. But he came to my new place, and it was much better, much less awkward, and much more like of a chemistry. And then from there, we have slowly been ramping up. Like we see each other now once a week typically. And it has started just being from like a booty call, come over after work, or like drive me to your place after work, to like we'll go on dates. So we'll go to museums together. We'll spend like days together. A couple weekends ago, we went out to Montauk, which was like an hour's long drive. And then I wound up staying at his place that night, and then staying at his place a lot of the afternoon the next day. So it's not like we're just hooking up. There's like a dating aspect to it, which for me, who's good at just a hookup, is very new, and I a little bit don't know what to do with it. But at the same time, I like this guy, right? So what happened is like around August, we had started going on actual dates, like farmers market dates, all of these cute little things, right? And I start to realize that all of these other men that I had been seeing, I don't really care about. And I would rather spend my time with this guy who I have not just like good chemistry with now, but like intellectually, it's really stimulating. He does something that I think is really interesting. And like, we just verbally got along a lot better than a lot of the other men I was seeing. So
he snuck into the top of your list. He became your favorite.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Rather surprisingly.
Sneaky. Okay.
So, in August, I wind up just casually mentioning to him, like, hey, I'm not seeing anyone else. I don't really want to. I'm not sleeping with anyone else. Or like, what's your deal? And he winds up saying the same thing to me. So I was like, okay, great. Like, we're exclusive. And the conversation literally went almost exactly like that.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
It's like so humiliating on my end.
No, I don't think so. I think that I don't know why people don't want to have that conversation. Like it does need to be had, I think, with today's options. And there's nothing better than having it just verbalized like that. You can come to an agreement or not, and then you know what to do from there. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, it's like maybe slightly awkward, a 10-minute conversation, but then now you know.
Right. Like the funniest part is that it wasn't awkward, and it was more like 30 seconds. And so I felt so secure. I was like, great, like no issues. We're exclusive. No problem. And then here's when my issue starts, right? So we keep seeing each other. Everything's great. I'm in this little bubble of like, I don't have to be worried about anyone else. I don't care because he's not seeing anyone else. And I think about a couple weeks later, I wound up deactivating my Bumble because I just wasn't swiping anyways and didn't care to be. I wasn't going to meet up with other people. And full disclosure, I'm a bit of a creep with the apps. So I had occasionally checked his profile to show other people. Because, when friends are like, oh, what does he look like? You can show them their Bumble profile. And I also would just check out of my own curiosity. But I was noticing that he was updating his profile. So I'm talking new pictures, new bios. Ooh. And he was updating, and the location was changing. Oh. You can tell like how many miles apart they are from you, which only updates when you open the app. So I was noticing that he was doing this fairly regularly, and he continues to do it regularly to this day.
Oh.
The dating apps have created this whole new batch of like sort of like closet psychopaths. Like
I wouldn't go that far.
it's antisocial behavior.
Antisocial behavior.
You're living a double life. It's
and it's
not
never been
normal.
easier to, and you can do it sort of passively. Although the updating of photos is pretty hardcore. That's not just leaving your profile up.
No. What he's doing is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
let's just make this conversation short. He's not good. This is not a good thing. There's no like gray area here. It's not like, well, maybe he likes to write and he likes to have photos and he enjoys taking pictures. No, he's a bit of a scumbag. And he's clearly has many toes outside this relationship. Let's make that clear. Let's not beat around the bush. That's 100% guaranteed. And from a man's perspective, I even know more than 100%. 110%, as they say, which is
Andy
so
can't
not
stand
annoying.
That. He's like, it only goes up to 100.
It only goes up to 100. You're never giving 110%. Ever. Don't even think about it. You probably will kill you. You'll die if you give 110%. That's how you do it.
That's a good point, actually. That extra 10%, you don't
kill
have it in you to give.
It's
you would die.
You'll break physics. You'll die. You'll just implode. Anyway, the point is this guy's not in the relationship. He's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. There's no question about it.
Right.
So the question becomes, 2 questions. One is, have you confronted him about this?
No, I haven't. I haven't mentioned anything.
Okay, because you'll look like a creep.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, and I'm not that good at lying.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh, I don't think it's tough.
No, it's tough. I wouldn't. Okay, what she does by doing that, it's like the 2 wrongs make a right. So she's basically saying, I've been stalking your profile and I've noticed this. It's not that bad.
Right.
But does your account have to be open to see that his account is still active? Like, is yours?
No. So mine is fully closed. Like, people cannot see my profile. I can't swipe on anyone, but I still have the app. And like, technically I still have an account, which is how I can go in and see his. So I can still see and message all of my old matches.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, you finish and then I'll say what
No, go ahead. I'm curious where you're coming from.
I just feel like if you're in a relationship with someone, you're past the point where it's like, oh, how do I broach this?
But that's my other question. Like, are we even in a relationship?
Well, that's what you need to know, evidently.
Well, then that was where my second batch of questions were going to come. I want to determine whether you are in the relationship you think you're in. The first question has been answered. He's half out. That I guarantee.
Yes.
Right.
You agree with that,
yes.
right? Okay. So my question is this. Do you say goodnight or have like a end of the day conversation and or text every single night of the week?
No, not at all.
Okay. That's a problem. Number 2, how often do you see each other? And when you see each other, how forward are the plans made for that date?
Like how in advance?
Right. So it actually depends. We've had plans like a month out. And he did that like maybe 2 months ago. We made plans for like something a month in the future, which shocked me because I was like, a Playboy wouldn't just do that. So typically it
or would a really good Playboy do that?
That's true. He could be an extra good one.
Now you're off. You don't know where you stand. Off balance. Keeping you on your toes.
And when you had this conversation about exclusivity, that you said was in August?
Yeah, it actually came up again after that, maybe like the next time I had seen him. And it literally was just a replay of the same conversation where he was like, yeah, I'm not seeing anyone else I don't care to. The end. There's been no I love you situations here, has there? No.
Okay. Just checking. Just want to X that off. Okay.
I'm confused. I feel like you're either in a relationship with someone or you're not. And if you are in a relationship with someone, that's a safe place where you should be able to speak your mind. And this isn't you going through his phone while he's sleeping and like secretly learning his password. This
agree.
Is public.
It's not that creepy. I know you. I could tell you have a lot of pride about not being a creep. I get that. I'm with you
and
on
respects
that.
your.
I mean, I would totally admit to him that I'm being a total creep. I just think that a lot of people would be very spooked by that.
No, but okay. So now you're thinking about it the wrong way. He should be spooked by that. He should be spooked by the fact that he's clearly actively looking for another woman while he's dating you pretty seriously. And from what it sounds like, aside from the fact that you don't have like the sort of end of the day communication, which is a red flag, to be honest, it sounds like you have something of a relationship.
It sounds pretty casual, though.
It does sound casual, but that they do real datey things. So it's sort of in between casual and relationship. It's not full casual.
Yeah, I just find the lack of talk. Do you talk every day in some way?
I'd say about every day, not necessarily every single day, but I'd say most days we talk.
Okay, I would say that you are in your right, and I do not think it would be super creepy for you to say, I still have my Bumble account active, and I looked at your profile, and you could even make it funny. You could be like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this? What's wrong with you? Like, what's going on? Like, seriously.
Yeah, I find it's bordering on like it could be a comedic.
Yeah, you could make it a joke. You could be like, so how's your new profile going, weirdo?
There have been a couple situations. There was like one situation where I almost was like, oh, I saw that new pic. You looked really great. And
you shouldn't do it. That's too jokey. You should make it.
Too casual.
You should open it in a sort of semi-serious way, but you can sort of approach it. I could tell you have pride. Keep your pride while you discuss it. So make it like you don't care that much, but you definitely should lay this on him.
Well, and also
he should not be able to get away with this.
You're within your right to care. That's what bothers me. It's not like you haven't had the exclusivity conversation. That you had a conversation that led you to believe that you had a certain something. Don't be fooled into thinking that you did something wrong by keeping an eye on his public dating profile that he's updating.
He's the one breaking the law.
Yes.
You're making a citizen's arrest on this one, okay?
So you don't think there's I've been thinking of like all the possible situations. You don't think that there's a loophole in there that he's trying to exploit, the loophole being we are only sleeping together. That doesn't preclude him from going out on dates.
Well, that was my next.
He's definitely using that loophole. The question is,
because the language used was, I'm not sleeping with anyone else.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm just trying to think like a really good fuckboy.
Oh no, you're thinking well. She's a good. I like.
Yeah,
this.
I know. She's thought about the semantics of the 30-second conversation.
It's tremendous. It's easy to deal with this with you. A lot of people don't like to talk about everything. So, he is definitely using the loophole, and he needs to be called on it hard. I agree with you. No pussyfooting around, and immediately, like. Unless you want to just maintain a long, casual, kind of like in between casual and real relationship with this guy for, maybe months or years, if you want.
And me like 3 years ago, 100%. Me now, not interested.
Totally.
So you want to date him exclusively and see where it goes.
Right. And I don't even care about the labels. I know he's not big into labels. He's given me enough hints for me to know that he's not big into labels. I don't really care about that. It's the exclusivity. It's the respect to not be out here on dating apps.
Also kind of safety right now. Mm-hmm. The safety as well.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's worth mentioning. We can't pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah.
It's like, it's as if everyone in the world has herpes, basically. Right?
It is.
I mean, I thought that was pretty good analogy.
It caught me off guard, but it was good. Yeah. It was good. Wow. Oh yeah. I just don't feel the need to handle this with kid gloves. I think that you are within your right. There's no way it wouldn't even occur to him that you could perceive it, that you're not dating other people. The loophole thing is that's shitty, but he cannot not see this coming is what I'm saying. How can he not see this coming?
He probably in his mind has a ticking time bomb. He's like, any day now, she's going to ask me, why are you updating your photos? Why are you changing your profile? He knows it. He's waiting for it. He's literally buying time having sex with you before you ask him that question, at which point he may peace out because he's going to be so ashamed and he's going to realize that the gig is up. That's what's happening. Mm. But there is a possibility. So this is a win-win for you. That's why you need to do this immediately. Bring it to a head. There is a possibility that it may revert. You may be like, oh man, now I realize I'm such a jerk. I actually really love this woman and I screwed up. And why was I being so immature? And now I'm going to commit myself to this relationship. There is a 25% chance that happens.
25%.
25%.
Yeah, I do think 25%. because he's spending so much quality time with her. Like in
Montauk.
situations I've been in half out, it's just sleeping. It's just like, hey, what's up?
You've been the guy in this situation.
Yeah.
Where you've sort of like relied on loopholes and
avoided there was never a firm commitment.
Not when there was exclusivity talk.
No. Then it's just plain straight up cheating. That's cheating.
And you said you discussed it twice, and both times it was, I'm not sleeping with anyone else.
I'm not seeing anyone else. And I'm not going on dates with other people, and I don't want to, and I don't have time to.
Oh, so that's not, then he's actually, it's not even a loophole.
He's cheating.
He's breaching all contract.
Or even if he's not actively cheating, he's open to cheating.
Oh, yeah.
Right. In a city like New York, when there's always someone hotter, there's always someone better, there's always that possibility that the more you swipe, maybe you'll get someone even better.
Do you know what I want?
I just feel like he's addicted.
Is it legal for her to call him right now and try to I would love to hear live how he responds, how he flounders like a fish out of water.
Stefanie, you're allowed to say no to that.
You're definitely allowed to say no. But
no,
also
I 100% would. But I'm fairly certain he might be at work.
Even better. Even more awkward.
So the other thing too is like our relationship is not typically like that. So it would be so awkward for me. I don't know. I feel like I'm pussyfooting around to everything because I'm a problem, because I don't want to stand up for what I probably should.
Oh, you should. Yeah. You're not being fair to yourself.
Yeah. You're
not. You deserve better. You need to do that. I would love you to call him right now.
Don't.
I shouldn't say.
Don't put her in that position.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forget.
Don't listen to my husband. I'm sorry.
Don't listen to your husband.
I will not do it. But thank you for the offer. No, because I really do need to be forced into having this conversation. Clearly, I've been putting it off for a while now.
It would seem so. I think that we're not telling you anything you didn't already know and didn't think we would say. But if you do get one new nugget from this, it's that you don't need to call into a podcast to know what you deserve in a relationship. When you say you're worried that you don't want to seem like too much. What's your Enneagram type?
Oh, I just did this. This is the numbers one, right?
Yes.
I'm an 8.
What's an 8? That's pretty good.
Yeah, but they're very usually I thought assertive.
Huh.
Anyway.
I typically am assertive in everything but my love life. Unless it's a fuckboy that I don't care about.
Got it.
And then I am very assertive.
Gabby just said the 8 is the challenger.
Okay.
Oh.
This isn't even about, do I deserve whatever. This is pretty basic.
Right.
We live in a society where most relationships are monogamous. You had the talk to suggest that you would both be monogamous. And now you have evidence, months worth of evidence to suggest that even if he's not actively being that way, he is open to being that way. That's not cool, especially if you're not doing the same shit. If that's the case, then you also have a right to be swiping people, And
I also, everything you're saying is right. I also think that you have to be very aware of his response. It's very important. So he's going to do one of 3 things. The first one is the worst, which is going to be like, why are you looking at my profile? That's my private. Why would you do that? That's
he's
the worst.
Switching the blame onto you.
Then you actually punch him in the face.
Yeah, then I just leave. That's such a pathetic response.
No, it's like instantly over.
Dear Shandy does not condone physical violence.
No, they don't. But this may be a situation. The police have more important things to worry about nowadays. So second worst is he makes some excuse like, oh, I'm just doing that because, I don't even know what you would say, but I'm sure he could think of something. That's the second worst. And the one where you actually should have an open mind is where he actually fesses up and he's like, yeah, and he actually has a conversation about it. Like, yeah, I am doing that.
He's not defensive.
He's not defensive. Exactly. And he explains his reasoning, however weak it may be. That may lead to another conversation where maybe your relationship goes to another level or it ends. And that's where that 25-75% thing, I think, is. But
it would be really actually almost charming if he could admit to, as you say, being addicted.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
There is that sense of vulnerability and not being defensive. That's the most important thing.
Well, that's the thing. Number 3 is the only one of those 3 responses, which you should entertain. The first 2 is immediately goodbye. But this third one has a lot of possibilities. So you'll see what kind of a man he is in how he navigates through that third choice.
Stefanie, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You've known this man for a while, and if it weren't for this, you would think you're dating him. I would think that you should have a pretty good idea of how he will respond.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah, I suspect that he will either say, I'm doing it because I'm bored and I enjoy doing it because it's just something to do when I'm passing the time, but I'm not I'm not going on dates with people on it. I suspect that might be how he responds. Which is
that's number 2. That's goodbye. It's number 2 in more ways than one.
It's not even like a little number 3.
No, that's a full number 2.
Well, there's a slight
nice try.
Him being like I'm bored, like sort of admitting that it's you're
that's
right.
actually the number 2 that I couldn't think of. That's exactly number 2. That's the one I was trying to think of. What excuse would you make? Oh yeah, I'm bored. Right. That's it.
Oh no. Yeah, I just
that's
feel like I see so many other aspects of like what we've been doing. So like he's met a couple of my friends. We talk a lot about our families and like fears and all these things and like more personal things than I'd ever talk about with anyone I'm just like casual with. I feel like I'm looking at so many of those and being like, oh, so he must care a little bit more.
He does care. He cares a little bit, but not enough, I think. And I think it's time for you to call him on this and potentially just pull the ripcord.
Unfortunately,
if he doesn't behave excellently.
The one thing
response.
you can't do is continue on like this if he doesn't.
No, and
change.
And again, you can.
No more sex. Nothing. I'm serious. He needs to lose the benefits that he's getting.
Oh, no question. But if you want to just keep it, casual and you enjoy that and you don't care, then that's fine. But I don't think that's the case. I think emotionally you want.
I think
something
it's too
more.
late for that now. Yeah,
it's too late.
I think emotionally it's past that. But does it help if you know that not all times that we hang out do we have sex? There have been times that we've hung out a while and stayed over at each other's houses and not had sex.
Well, it sounds like you're dating.
Sounds
I
like
just
you're
don't know why
married.
his bumble.
She's married. She's married.
Ha 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 ha. And he loves to make no sex
married jokes. Married jokes. Always funny. Okay. They're not funny.
This needs to happen as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't have to happen right now, although that would give me great pleasure. But it will happen very soon. And we'd like to hear a report about it because I'm actually really curious.
And if what's making it difficult for you is the sort of admission of being creepy and creeping his profile, blame it on a girlfriend.
Yeah,
my girlfriend saw your profile.
Said, like, just say that I was looking at his profile because I was showing someone and I noticed it was different.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, just blame it on a girlfriend.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
but then you'd be lying. You don't seem like a liar to me.
That's a white lie. I don't mind that.
I'm just kidding. No, that's a good idea.
I think it's better not to lie in the situation simply because, again, they're supposed to be in a relationship and he's the one committing that crime.
I would just say for her own, like,
I know that. No, I'm the one that suggested it. Trust me. Right. I feel the same way, but I just feel like then loophole. He can't be like, oh, it just happened to be open. Your girlfriend is wrong. Like, that photo's always been there. You can be like, actually, I know that you updated that photo. You know what I mean? Then you can get to the root of it right then. Don't let him wiggle out of it. Yeah. Stefanie, you knew what we were going to say.
Yeah.
I suspected. I didn't want to admit it to myself.
What else could we have said to this?
What did you think we were going to say?
Maybe, Andy, with your experience dating in New York City, you would be like, yeah, I've done that with someone before, and I didn't mean anything bad to come of it.
Oh, no, I've done that with people I meant bad things to come of.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I would never do that unless I meant bad things to happen. Yeah, so...
You did it to see what else was out there and explore that.
And I've never done that where I was really into the person I was dating. It's not like I'm like, well, let me just make sure I keep this Match.com profile up to date.
The speed at which he updates it is honestly, he should win an award. Because in this past week that I've been really monitoring it, it's like 3 times. I'm like, this is no joke.
Could I just quickly ask
It's almost impressive. He's very diligent with updating.
It is impressive. I want to know, just give me one snippet of some content that he changed. Like not a photo, just like an actual content from his profile.
He'll change answers to questions. So Bumble gives you those pre-written questions that you write in a blurb about. And he'll just completely change the question and answer a totally new question.
Amazing.
And there's no chance that Bumble just sort of rotates that.
Tinder has that algorithm. I've done my research.
I love
But Bumble does not have that algorithm.
Nice.
This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, no-brainer.
You're going to do it, right?
You said bring it up in a funny way. Yeah, because my other question is how in the world do I bring this up? But you mentioned just funny and like...
Because I've gotten to know you in the last 30 minutes, and I feel like you would be best represented by showing confident humor as opposed to being like, yo, why are you, what's up with this? Like, I don't think that would, I feel like your strength is in your positivity and your kind of lightness. So I think that's the best way to approach it for you, just so you feel good about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, since you do have strong feelings for him, you do feel like you're dating him. And it's possible this really is just a blip. I do believe that. Mm-hmm. It's possible that he just is addicted, like you said, and maybe it's the generation of just not wanting to get off the apps.
25%. That's where he's like, oh my God, I've done a bad thing. I really do like you.
Yeah. And therefore, I feel like to go in really in an aggressive way that sort of could make him more defensive than he might otherwise be would not serve you.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes sense.
You want to create an open, gentle environment for him to sink himself. Like a beautiful, idyllic swimming pool for him to drown in.
He can absolutely shoot himself in the foot. Got it.
And stat,
yeah.
Okay.
I want to hear
I'm seeing him this weekend if that's helpful. So we'll see.
Good.
All right, Stefanie, best of luck, and seriously, keep us posted on this.
We want to know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling. You. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thoughts?
I mean, that's another, clear-cut case.
It's clear-cut what she has to do. I maintain that he might not
I agree.
Be so malicious in this.
I agree. I think it's just clear-cut. The action is clear-cut.
Yes.
The result is not so clear.
Yeah, and you were right. 25%. I actually think maybe it's... At first, I thought 25% seemed really high. But the more I think about it, the more I think you're really right about that, and it's possible it's even higher.
Basically,
he won't want to lose her, and he'll be willing to, cut off bad habits. Not bad habits, but, habits that don't serve his monogamous relationship.
Yeah, maybe good habits for him. It depends how you look at it. But what I'm basically saying is 3 out of 4 guys in this position would be basically playing the field. They just be dragging her along. What
I find interesting is that he actually sounds kind of awkward and maybe not so great at that. Yeah. In a way that makes me...
But the internets allow people with no game and no coolness to be able to be a player, which kind of sucks and breaks the whole playing field as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're right. The internet has allowed men especially, but people.
The internet has allowed men, women, everybody to act out their worst tendencies without any of the courage needed to do it in real life. And this applies to politics, it applies to dating, it applies to family relations, it applies to everything. Bullying. And I'm frankly, I'm sick of it. And I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm just sick of it.
I mean, it is irritating. In this case, it's sort of like, what are you doing, dude?
It's just,
what are you doing? You already said okay.
It's created a whole generation of like cowards.
Yes.
It's just, it makes me very angry. I could go on for a long time.
You
don't
have to tell me. I deal with this on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you less than most, to be honest. You get a lot of love on the net. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like for a perfectly decent human being who's got a high-profile life, and they're just every minute of every day is like, you suck, I hope you die, you should kill yourself. Like, god damn. Who are these little urchins? Where did they come from? Were they always here and now they have a voice? or did the internet like birth them? I want to know.
I think they were always here and now they have a voice. We're going off topic.
The internet, you know, the internet is like when you lift a rock up and you see all those like worms and ants and like centipedes rolling around.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what the internet allows that to be the surface without you actually lifting the rock.
So did we cover Stefanie's saga? I'm interested to know what happens there.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to know. I think that what's going to happen is he's going to come up with some cockamamie excuse and the relationship's going to fizzle out.
The reason I'm sort of holding out hope, I guess, is because she seems like the kind of person that would be into someone who is quality. Do you not agree with me?
No, I'm thinking. I just feel like,
they've been talking for so long. This has been many, many, many months now. It just seems like she wouldn't be into someone who... No. This seems out of character.
She seems extremely laid back, down to earth, grounded, emotionally stable. Like everything about her seems like she understands what's happening. This is a situation where this guy has taken advantage of her laissez-faire attitude, her sort of bon vivant attitude. And he is...
Look at all these French expressions.
La vie rose.
You're in a weird mood tonight, and I love it.
So am I in a weird mood?
You are. It's so cute.
It's probably because I'm in a good mood.
Mood. You're in a cute mood. You're in a very.
My standard mood is bad. So maybe I'm in a good mood. But
you're right. He has taken advantage of her easygoingness or her laissez-faire or bon vivant attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But I maintain that if she is into him based on who she is, I feel like he's great in every way, and this is out of character for what she thinks he is.
Wait, what? Say that again.
She wants to date him.
Right.
She seems like someone who has self-esteem and knows what she is going for. She's smart. I feel like she would go for a guy who is reasonably great, and therefore, based on how great she thinks he is, this is out of character. What I'm saying is I do think he probably has a lot of redeeming qualities, and this might be just sort of like a cultural blip, like more so than him seeking to put his penis in other women anytime soon.
Okay. No, and I agree.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I reserve benefit of the doubt as well for him, and that's where the 25% comes. I think he might pull it out.
Yeah.
And I hope he does. I really do.
Yeah.
But she seems very cool, and I hope that he doesn't do something that's going to make her feel bad.
Yeah, I agree. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Dear Shandy. Let us know what you thought. If you think we're giving this guy too much credit.
Too much credit?
I don't know. I think we're giving him a decent amount of credit considering his profile is still active and being updated.
Giving him a very medium amount of credit, maybe low.
I think maybe I'm giving him credit.
You're giving him more credit than me.
It's because of her.
I know him, though. I know what he's up to.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think he's just not in this relationship?
He's not fully in it.
Oh, that's so discouraging. Like they had the conversation twice. Like, what more do you need to do? What more do you need to do?
I mean, people commit triple homicide. Are you suggesting that the human being occasionally does things that are bad?
All I'm saying is that if he's going to agree to being exclusive with her, at the very least, if you still want to wander around, like go on a different app than the one you met her on. It's so sloppy.
Right. Sloppy, yes. Yes, I'll give you that. It's very sloppy.
Go on Tinder or something.
I know, right. Mix it up.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good point.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Dear Shandy. If you liked Dear Shandy, you know what you can do. You can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave an iTunes review. That's the big, big one.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best gift you can give us. And with that said, I think we can wrap. Thank you guys, and see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye. Dear Shandy.